This is my video that will be showing off my AI NPC to beat Steven's obstacle course level. I'm going to show you all the different components, and then I am going to show the AI beating the level. I will say first of all that I'm not sure if I completely understood everything about the Unreal AI system. So although my AI does beat the level, I feel like I may have found my own somewhat janky solutions to problems that could probably be solved more efficiently. With that being said, first I'm just going to show you the blueprint class, which is very basic. I'm just setting the AI controller to my AI controller. Then in the AI controller blueprint, I'm very simply running the behavior tree that I have, my Olivier NPC behavior tree, which I guess takes me to the behavior tree. So I have a selector and I have three things that can happen here. So the selector will first go over to this area to check if it's arrived at the first safe zone. The way I do this is I have in my blackboard, I have three keys. I have self actor, I have target actor, which is the target that I use for moving towards, and then point achieved, which basically remains unset until the AI gets close enough to the point. So this EQS query, which is, I'll open it up real quick. EQS arrived at zone. Um, this EQS query is essentially exactly the same as my other one. I'll just show you both of them right now. So this one checks a really far distance to see if we can find a BP safe zone. This one checks a much shorter distance, 100, for the same thing. So basically, once you get close enough, this one ends up getting filled out. So this one only runs when point achieved is not set, and it's trying to set point achieved. If that fails, then we go over here, and then this section of the blackboard is for beating the spinning portion of the map, which is why I called it spinner sequence. So for this one, it only runs if point achieved is not set, the same as this one. And basically, I wait a slightly variable amount of time. It doesn't need to be variable. I just wanted it to be for fun, like in terms of the randomness. Then we run my EQS query to find the nearest point, and then we try to move to it. And I added a time limit, so it'll run for 5 seconds, and then if you don't reach the point, it'll start it all over again, which I found made it run faster than if I just let it do it on its own. And then once you make it to the first point, that's where we get here. So this one only runs if there is a target actor and the first point has been achieved. It also has a time limit of 4 seconds, again, just to make it run faster, and I called it ball sequence because it's the sequence that runs in the section with the rolling balls, the Indiana Jones section. And then I have this BTT. I'll be honest, I don't remember what BTT stands for. But basically, it's the blueprint that can interact with the things. And here's where I think I went a little off the rails with what I'm supposed to be doing. I'll open it up. Basically, I started just doing a bunch of logic in here because I found it easier to do blueprint logic than to do behavior tree because it was all so alien to me. Anyway, it also started way simpler, and then it kind of mounted in complexity over time. It's not too bad now, but I'll show you how it works. So the AI tries to execute the event. First, we set the controlled pawn just so that it's easier to reference later. Then this is an arbitrarily high number for I'm going to check the distance of balls of the Indiana Jones balls um to the player, and this is just an arbitrarily large number so that it'll always set it to a number because the balls can't be this far away. Then I get all the actors of the avoid ball class. I loop through them, and this little bit of code is to find the nearest one that is in front of the player in world space, so that basically I'm not looking at the balls that are behind the player. So once they pass the player will know that it can run forwards to the next safe zone. I have this little margin here so that the player can start running before the ball has completely passed the player. And I have to do a little bit of, I don't want to call it magic, but I had to get a component from the ball because the ball itself isn't moving. It's a component on the ball that's moving. So that was a little annoying to figure out. But basically, I get all that and I branch it. And if the ball I'm looking at is the closest ball, I set the closest ball number to that number. Then I check if the closest ball distance is smaller than 2000 and or no, if it's greater than 2000. So basically that means if it's unset, which because it gets set like this at the start, if it's unset by any of this, then it'll be true, and if the ball is far enough away, it'll also be true. If the ball isn't far enough away, we just finish executing because there's a ball too near and we don't want to move. Then over here in true, we get all of the safe zones, and I have two arrays. I have all safe zones and I have valid safe zones. So I clear valid safe zones and I set all safe zones. Then I remove the current Blackboard key from all safe zones because I don't want to pathfind to the safe zone I'm currently at. Then I have, if the cast fails, I go directly to the finish line because for some reason I was having a weird bug where it would go halfway to the finish line, like right at the end of the level. And it turned out that it just really wanted this here. I'm not entirely sure why, since it should still be able to detect the safe zones. Or, oh, I guess it's because the Blackboard key value isn't a safe zone anymore, so it doesn't cast properly. So if the cast fails, it'll just go to the end. Then in here, I loop through all the safe zones, and I do a similar thing that I did back over here, where I'm finding all of the ones that are in front of the player's current position. Except this time I'm finding all the ones that are in front of the current safe zone's current position. And then I'm adding those to valid safe zones. So that means it won't move to another one that's like horizontally parallel, but it'll move to one that's vertically parallel. So then I get that. I go here and I check if my safe zones array is not set to 0, is not set to a length of 0, because if it's set to a length of 0, that means I've passed all the safe zones. If it is set to a length of 0, then I go to the endpoint again. If it's not set to a length of 0, so that means there's a safe zone, a valid safe zone to be found, I use this handy dandy little function to find the nearest actor within an array to the current pawn, and then I just go to it. Yeah. So I think that covers everything on how it works. So I'll just hit run. It does struggle a little bit with this first part sometimes. Because I have that randomness in, sometimes it'll do better than other times, but it does always eventually make it through. So just there, you saw how it managed to just barely squeeze out, and there we go. We're off to the races. This part is probably the most solid part, but it's also the part that I feel like is the sketchiest due to using blueprints, which I don't necessarily know if I was supposed to do, or if there was a better way to do all that in the behavior tree. But you know what? It works, and it works consistently. And sometimes that's all you need. So there we go. We've made it to the finish line. Thank you for listening to my rambling about my NPC.